Welcome to No Clear Answer, where the truth is never certain. Now, let's move on to a real-life story. In August 1966, a strange incident took place near Rio de Janeiro, in the Brazilian city of Niterói. Even decades later, it remains one of those mysteries that has never been fully explained. On that day, a young boy flying a kite on Vintém Hill noticed two motionless bodies lying on the ground. At first, he didn't think much of it, but a few days later, when a strong odor began to spread from the area, authorities were finally notified. When the police arrived at the hill, what they found was unusual. Two men were lying side by side on the ground. They were wearing suits, raincoats, and clean clothes that looked almost newly purchased. Nearby were a water bottle, a small towel, and a few strange handwritten notes. But the most striking detail was on their faces. Both men were wearing masks made of lead, placed over their eyes. The masks covered the eyes but did not block breathing. They looked almost like a strange kind of protective goggles, yet no one could explain why anyone would need something like that. Police soon identified the two men. They were Manoel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana, two electronic technicians in their early 30s. Both lived in the nearby city of Campos dos Goitacazes. Their families confirmed that the men had left home a few days earlier, saying they were traveling for work. But the purpose of their trip remained unclear. As investigators dug deeper, the case only became stranger. Inside one of the men's pockets, police discovered a small piece of paper with a set of instructions written on it. It read, 16:30. Be at the agreed location. 18:30. Take the capsule. After the effect begins, put on the masks. Wait for the signal. This note quickly became the center of the investigation, but the capsule mentioned in the message was never found, and no one ever discovered what it was supposed to be. There were no signs of violence on the bodies. There was also no clear evidence of poisoning. To make matters worse, the autopsy conducted at the time could not provide a definitive answer because the bodies had already begun. In other words, no one could determine how the two men died. But perhaps the most puzzling question remained unanswered. Why would two electronics technicians climb a remote hill wearing lead masks? During the investigation, new details began to emerge. The men were reportedly part of an amateur group interested in electronics and unusual experiments. According to some people who knew them, members of the group sometimes conducted paranormal or spiritual experiments. Some claimed they were trying to communicate with spiritual forces. Others believed they were experimenting with radio frequencies. A few witnesses even said the men had talked about waiting for a signal from the sky. At that point, the mystery only deepened. Several theories began to circulate about the purpose of the lead masks. Some researchers believed the masks were designed to protect the eyes from extremely bright light. Another theory suggested they were meant to shield the wearers from radioactive radiation. But none of these explanations were ever proven. As the investigation continued, more strange details surfaced. During their trip, the men had stopped at a local shop and purchased a water bottle and raincoats. Yet on that day, the weather was sunny and clear. There was no sign that rain was expected. The shop clerk later told police something interesting. The two men appeared calm, but at the same time, they seemed unusually tense, almost as if they were preparing for something important. Another witness later reported seeing a strange light in the sky near Vintém Hill that same day. That statement led some people to consider more unusual possibilities. Was it a UFO? Were the men truly waiting for some kind of signal? Or was it simply a coincidence, misunderstood after the fact? Despite all these questions, the investigation eventually reached a dead end. The capsule was never found. The true purpose of the masks was never confirmed, and the exact cause of death was never determined. Years later, the Brazilian authorities officially closed the case, but closing the file did not make the mystery disappear. Today, the lead mask case is still considered one of the strangest unsolved incidents in the world. Why did the two men climb that hill? Why did they put on those masks? And most importantly, what were they really waiting for that day? No one truly knows. Some questions never find an answer. This was one of those questions without a clear answer. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.